recently some new documents came out revealing that George Floyd, mind you guys, facts, these are facts. Put your feelings and your emotions aside. I know this is gonna piss off a bunch of people, but George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose and not from asphyxiation or strangulation. I want everybody, just let that hit you. The video that we saw, obviously horrible, handcuffed, way too long. I agree, way too long to do that. Probably should have got like manslaughter, third degree. I think that was one of the first charges, but they changed it. But these new court documents are coming to light, and I'm gonna tell you guys right now. Amy Sweezy, have you heard about this girl?
Related to Patrick?
Not Patrick Sweezy, but she's a former Hennepin County, Minnesota prosecutor who's suing her employer. All right, which she alleging that she was a victim of sexual discrimination and retaliation. So, like, think about this. None of these facts would have come out, guys. This would have still been, you know, nothing changed. BLM, horrible time of her lives. She's pissed off, so she's like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna expose everybody right now. And what a thing to expose, because this lawsuit matters because George Floyd died in Hennepin County, where she's suing and blowing the lid off everything. The depositions in her case make it very clear that the prosecutors always knew that Derek Chauvin and the other 3 police did not kill George Floyd. So during her definition, if I say definition one more time,
you're putting 2 words together.
You're sitting over here with that outfit.
Definition. Definition too.
I love it.
It sounds right.
During her deposition, she discussed a conversation she had the day after Floyd's death when she asked Hennepin County medical examiner Dr. Andrew Baker about the autopsy. She said, and I quote, "I called Dr. Baker early that morning to tell him about the case and to ask him if he would perform the autopsy on Mr. Floyd. He called me later that day, and on Tuesday, he told me that there were no medical findings that showed any injury to the vital structures of Mr. Floyd's neck." You guys have to really think about that. Any structures, meaning, bro, like your larynx, pressure, if it's snapped, did he break anything in there? Did it slow down? Did it asphyxiate?
There's nothing.
Yeah. There were no medical indications of asphyxia or strangulation, according to the transcript. I do that. I said transcript. He said, this is what the guy said to her. Amy, what happens when the actual evidence doesn't match up with the public narrative that everyone's already decided on? And then he said, this is the kind of case that ends careers. The other depositions from attorneys in the office showed that the decision to prosecute Chauvin was purely political. The prosecutors feared the mob, happens a lot, and they were happy to go after the police. But and again, I think I mentioned it, facts don't care about your feelings. This is what happened. Do you guys think anything changes? Do we go backwards? I know somebody earlier today was like, Vinny, you can't unburn a city. You can't unburn the churches. You can't start this.
No, I mean, you showed it with the whole when Minnesota. Remember, you did that. I don't know when it was. You showed downtown like Baghdad or something. Then you showed Minnesota,
and I was like, "Where is it at?"
And I go, oh, that's gotta be like some third world country. It was Minnesota.
It was Minnesota.
And people forget about that destruction. People forget about all that.
Yeah, they really do. Go ahead, Christie, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, can you imagine if they even attempted to go back and tell the truth and like get him out of prison earlier than what his sentence was? Can you imagine the chaos that would?
Oh my God! Like, Brandon, would be honest. I want to know what you think too. That's a great scenario, Christie.
Yeah.
In 1 month, they go, all right, guys. We due to all these depositions, said it right. All the depositions, all this factual stuff from doctors. I'm sorry to say this, but the amount of fentanyl that this guy had in his body and the norfentanyl, and I'm gonna have Kelly showed us the photo of the coroner's report. Brandon, what happens?
Yeah, no, the people who are the agents of chaos that really push this narrative would love that, because that would give them round 2 of, pushing some agent of chaos type of situation where people are burning cities and rioting. Because, yeah, 2 things to be right at the same time. The guy Derek Chauvin was a terrible guy, and he obviously, didn't do things the right way as a cop, because he's like leaning on the guy for like a long time, abusing him and stuff. Like, that's not cool. But
not cool at all.
left, the agents of chaos, you know, the Soros type of people who push all this type of stuff, they knew exactly what they were doing too, because it's not like this just came out, this autopsy where we saw that it wasn't asphyxiation. You know, that this is probably something that was known within a few weeks or a few days of this happening. But you know, they still pumped the news cycle full of all, showing it over and over again, him getting suffocated, saying he can't breathe, and people like riling people up to burn stuff down.
Brennan, and then I'm going to go to you, Taylor. Do you think the agents of chaos, the political higher-ups, the elites, because don't ever get it twisted, they love the divisiveness, they love racism, they push all this thing. I just had a conversation with Umberto at lunch where he's like, Vinny, he's like, if you walk around, people love each other. Yeah. He's like, there's no openly people being racist.
That's
like
true. That's very true.
Dude, it made me sit back, Christie. I was like, holy, like I go, no. I go, you mean hate doesn't exist? He goes, no, Vinny. Hate, yeah, it's like it's in pockets, but nobody's out on the street. Yeah, you'll see a video here and there of some stupid, uneducated, hate-filled moron going, you know, saying the N-word or talking about Asians or whatever. But the majority, no, is love. Dude, but they love, Brandon, to go and harp on it. Say what you're gonna say, because I have a point.
It kind of reminds me of like the weather video that you did, where how they exaggerate the hell out of the weather situations. You know, they'll like fake that like they're going their knees in the water and shows up. So I think it's the same thing with like the hatred stuff, because you know I went to places like Chicago, New York, like all these cities last year, and you know there wasn't any crazy violence or anything like that. But if you look at Fox News, it looks like there's a war going on in Chicago.
Yeah,
I was just there.
It's pretty violent, though.
I was just there.
Like, it's pretty. When I lived there, I lived in Elgin, and every weekend I would look up the shootings, and there'd be like 10, 50, 30, like some of them really young children just being assassinated like by drive-bys. Wow. Chicago is pretty dangerous when it comes to gun violence. And to your point on that end, I would say, I don't even know if people would care. Like they've made up their mind on the decision. You could come out with the facts, and they would be like, yeah, no, he still shouldn't have done that, though. And so it's like the facts don't even matter, because there were people, and to Candace Owens' credit, screaming from the rooftops at the beginning of this situation, hey, there was fentanyl in his system. Can we kind of look at it from multiple different perspectives? And people weren't willing to do it because their mind was made up. White cop, black man, died, done,
in
does
Chicago,
not matter.
What they were doing in Chicago, they were. I mean, I was just there, and there was a car. We were all walking around on Wells Street. One car drove into the Dior store. This is when I was there. Yeah. Drove into the Dior store, smashed it. I missed it by like 10 minutes. Jeez. Smashed into it. They stole that car, smashed into it, went in, ran, and grabbed a bunch of stuff, left the car, and then hopped into other cars, and then they sped off. Wow. So, dude, you didn't see a cop car come by there to check it out?
They don't go over there
within like 15, 20 minutes. Back in the day when I lived in Chicago, it was slammed with cops, dude. Yeah. Cops were just pulling people over because it was fun, and they were drunk at the bar. Like, they didn't care. They didn't care.
Yeah. Politicians don't have their back now, and so they've given up. If the politicians don't have your back as a cop, you're not going to go for it.
And you know what I learned? It's called the Windy City, not because it's windy, because of the politics.
Is it? That's wow. Taylor the Grande dropping fact.
I was going to say, to your point, and this is the problem with the news outlets, is that they like this divisiveness, and it takes away from having conversations of like, it's possible that two things can be right at the same time. Like Derek Chauvin was his name. Yep. His actions with like his knee to the neck was entirely, I think we can all agree, was like too much.
Not good.
But at the same time, let's be realistic on George Floyd and what was going on with him and his his toxic report. How much fentanyl did he have in his system?
It could like kill a horse.
It was so much.
I'm happy he did that.
And so he overdosed with that. So my whole thing is like, they just love for us to just pick a radical side and to stay on that side. And I remember being in New York and getting into fights with friends because when it had just happened, emotions were heightened and everybody was so mad at the cop. And I asked the question of like, well, what happened? What are the details? And you would be, I got annihilated for just asking, what's the context and why?
You can't even ask the question.
Yeah, they were just like, you need to decide, that was wrong, right? That was racist, right? And I'm like, well, that looks wrong, but I feel like there's so much more to it. Let's wait. And no one wanted to do that.
What do you mean? You remember, people were walking up, running up on people. I saw this in LA. We were there. Yep. Like, people were just eating at a restaurant. They were running up, mobs going, you better say Black Lives Matter. Say that. And it's like, yo, back. Because mind you, And somebody said this. My brother said this. Somebody said this on a comment about, because I touched on this on Pat's thing. They're like, hey, if y'all white people, I'm not white, I'm Middle Eastern, shouldn't talk about black people problems. I'm like, no. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about because I have an opinion about stuff. Okay, I have an opinion. And you made a great point, and I want to harp on it. People all of a sudden, George Floyd was this angel, saint person. Let's not forget what. First of all, if you were a good person, you know what the cops don't do? They don't even go near you. They don't mess with you. This guy was trying to use a $20 fake $20 bill to get cigarettes that day. They showed up. He was resisting. Nobody saw that video till years later. Years later. He's resisting. He takes white substance. He swallows it. Turns out it's fentanyl. Kelly, can you show this? Can you show this really fast? This graphic. So guys, that is him. Oh, look at right there. That is 11 ngml. Wow. You guys understand? One of that is a high dose. 11 will kill all of us in this room. Jesus. He had that. He had norfentanyl in him. He had methamphetamine. He had a heart disease. Are you ready for this, Brady? He had COVID. And weeks before, he had 2 overdoses. So this guy, mind you, he's resisting arrest over and over and over and over and over again. And again, I want people to understand this. I'm not taking away from like the knee on the head that long. Right. I'm anti that. I was an MP. I get it.
But didn't you tell me? I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
Didn't you? I think you told me they weren't really on his neck.
They were on the back. That's perfectly. You're right, because Brady.
But you told me that.
I know, because and now because of the report, it wasn't asphyxiation. Bro, these people know the human body inside and out. Yeah. He didn't die from it.
Right.
But like you said, if we go backwards, it's a wrap. But think about it. Think about this. They wait for these type of moments. They jump on it. That's all they're waiting for. White cop, this moment, the sources, it's like a switch goes off. Because of that, think about this. We had the riots. They burned down the country. BLM was started. All the hate, all the fighting, the resentment towards cops. And mind you, I know people that are in the hood that are like, bro, there's no cops aren't showing up anymore. Like, that's not a good thing.
Right. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Like in Chicago.
And none of that's on, none of it is on purpose. Guess what was gearing up around the same time of all this too? All the riots.
The election.
The election.
That made forced Trump to have to take a position on it too. I like that House of Cards thing you said, because the politicians know that the president has to take a stance on that, either say the cop was wrong or that George Floyd was wrong, and they knew Trump wouldn't say the cop was wrong.
100%.
And even to say when it's around the elections, look at the chaos we're in under Trump's leadership. And I think even from a deeper issue is how we make judicial decisions based off emotions. Like the fact that we can't trust our judges or like the actual system to play out to see the facts is terrifying.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a really bad thing, that it's like, okay, let's stir up the emotions of the public to then innocent. It's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until proven innocent. And even when you're proven innocent, his character assassination is so far gone. Like, good luck to living him or anyone close to him a decent life moving forward. And also, what does that do to like the future of anything? It's like, okay, emotions first, then we'll dictate how we want to prosecute you. I mean,
I have a question for all of you guys. Okay, I have a question for all of you guys. Do you think people will fall for this garbage
100%.
again?
Yeah.
Christie?
Yeah,
Do you think they'll fall for it
They
again?
have a playbook now.
I think that this set a tone, and this is just my opinion, this set a tone. Since then, I think that everybody has had to feel forced to state an opinion about anything that's going on, because silence is violence, right? So I remember seeing that
silence is
everywhere
violence
on social media.
you didn't put a black square.
Yeah,
like,
you didn't put a black square. I got attacked
call.
so much because they were like, oh, you have a following, you have an audience, and why aren't you putting this? Because I don't know the context. So now they're like forcing people and feeling the pressure to say something about something they may not even know much about. It's happening right now with the whole Israel and Palestine situation. Make a decision, pick a side. And it's like, we're not having dialogue anymore. We're not having conversations. They just want you to pick a side and stay divided. And I think that BLM and the George Floyd situation set that precedent moving forward, because we see it all the time with Ukraine. Now with the war, everybody putting the flags and like the solidarity without even knowing the context. That set the tone moving forward.
I feel great point. And I feel, what's the word that I'm looking for, guys? I don't feel like I'm not blessed, but I'm so lucky that I'm awake, not woke, but that I get it. Like when COVID was going on, I was like, oh my God, like I see
really
it
went-
happening.
Oh, you went-
I
you
knew
went for it?
No, I'm saying,
mean you
like the facts. I'm a pure blood. I knew Fauci was full of crap. I knew what they were doing with
Same here.
Trump.
Yeah.
I knew what, dude. It's like I almost have a sixth sense as it's happening. I think you made a great point. Instead of jumping in, like, you know, I picture like the double dutch. As they're starting, you don't just jump in like an idiot. You got to get the rhythm and then you got to jump in.
Right.
So with anything, with politics, with decisions, with Ukraine, with all this, before you get in there, really get all the facts
It's
and get
emotions.
everything.
It's all about emotions, dude. It's all about
Well,
getting
but
people
they're
riled
brilliant
up
at it.
before these elections. They're getting everyone riled up, and they're bringing the House this time. I think they're bringing the House.
They are.
And they said, you saw with Tucker Carlson that he said, I forget the guest, but he said, we've already got the insides, the guts of America, and they're gonna, as it gets close, you watch, they're gonna start ripping it
It's
apart.
happening already.
Well,
What do you
that's
mean?
young,
Look
bro.
at the situation we're going to be in when the election rolls around. Most likely, we're going to be in a stock market crash or at least recession where people have far less money than they do right now this year, at least 50% less, and probably in a much worse situation with the war that's going on because there's no de-escalation in sight.
By the way, we're sending, guys. What they say. We said that USS Gerald Ford, one aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
We just found out. No. They sent. We are setting up almost as if I told Brandon. I had a weird feeling last night, guys. I was at my house. I was making food, and I got this weird sense of like. I looked outside. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised. I got goosebumps if something bad happens. I got a bad intuition. Some terrorist thing happens here, and guess what?
Yeah.
We already have our ships, and we're like, we're already here protecting them. Let's just go for it, because I'm telling you guys right now, the writing's on the wall. Don't get emotional. Take a step back. Iran. You keep hearing Iran, Hezbollah, Iran. We're looking for a fight with somebody
America
big.
wants to fight with Iran, and America's going to show up, and they're doing this right to their face.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hit my,
Yeah, they're like, no, I don't want to.
They're coming at you.
Exactly.
That's what they're doing.
Well, just go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, just to show how serious that is. You're saying the 7 aircraft carriers. You know, we have 20 of them, but like out of the entire country, there's only like 1 per country for the biggest countries. So,
No, you're good. No, keep going.
yeah, no,
so
like the
how
second
many?
most in the world is like France has like 2 of them. We have 20, and we sent 7 of them to this area. So you know, you don't just send 7 out of your 20 destroyers or aircraft carriers there for no reason.
Yeah, and not because I wanted to go to Tayler with the next story. Is it crazy though, guys? Because we mentioned what's happening in Israel, and which is, dude, we're gearing up. I hope everybody's getting ready for it. But notice how still to this day, not one person has come in front of a camera and said, "Hey guys, this is how tractors came in, airborne people came in, people driving in, the biggest attack they've had in the history of their country, and for 6 hours." Nothing happened.
Nothing.
Not one person has spoken about it, not Netanyahu, not anybody. All I've gotten is messages from people from Israel. I'm getting Instagram messages from people going, listen, I'm dead serious. I'll show you at the end of this. Vinny, something is fishy, something is not up. How do we call with our pants down? Other people are talking. I've seen soldiers, female soldiers going, there's no way they didn't know. There's no way. Anyway, that's a whole nother.
Well, we'll get those answers, but just, like years from now, because they're already learning to bring the truth out years later.
Oh yeah, because the news, you nailed it, because the news cycle is so fast.
Yeah.
They're like,
So just wait 5 years and you'll get it.
Yeah, and by the way, just like this one, like the George Floyd one, nobody cares.
Yeah.
And they know if that guy gets out of jail, we're going right back into burning the country down.
Right.
You notice that, right?
Because who wants the truth? As long
Nobody
as
wants, the truth. I don't want
that.
feelings.
Right.
Truth hurts my feelings.
Yeah,